This is the 14.3 session plan, session and program reviews by Aaron Sparrowhawk. So firstly, the client aims, and all these are smart targets. Firstly, program aims was to improve muscular endurance and improve cardiovascular fitness, and the specific session aims in this particular session that we've been focusing on was muscular endurance in the lower body. So we're talking about hamstrings, quadriceps, calves, and soleus. So in terms of the specific session target I've set for him, it's simply I'd like Charles to cycle a full minute right at the end of the session at 17 RPE. This is specific for Charles because it will improve his muscular endurance, because he's been fatigued already, so this will improve his muscular endurance by pushing him right at the end where he's fully fatigued. It's measurable, obviously, because it's a specific target and it's a time limit, so that's how it will be measured, if he can last the full minute or not. It's achievable, simply because Charles is already physically fit. I believe he can do this, and I think this is reasonable. It's realistic as well, because it's not something like 2 minutes or 5 minutes right at the end. And the RP isn't too high either, it's 17, so it means he's pushing forward, and that's that. For program aims, Charles' sport lasts a full 90 minutes, and as a result he needs muscular endurance to hold off fatigue. He needs cardiovascular fitness so he can move around the pitch and attack even at the late stages of the game. So obviously the target for the muscular endurance was to last a full 90 minutes. It's a smart target because it's specific to his sport. It's measurable because, again, it's a time limit. It's something that we can measure through amounts and numbers. It's achievable because he can already last 70, 75, 80 minutes. It's just the last 10 minutes that he's really struggling with. It's realistic as well because we're not asking him to do 120 minutes. It's specific, again, to his sport again. And yeah, the time limit again overall will be over the 6-week program. So the risk assessment. I had to do the risk assessment for the session that I was doing. Obviously, it was in the fitness suite. The date it was taken was the 26th of January, and it was obviously assessed by me and signed by me. So firstly, the hazards: if a participant is wearing jewellery, people at risk is the participant. Controls to be put into place. Just ensure Charles isn't wearing jewellery, and ensure he takes any jewellery off before participating, and that's the important bit. He's not wearing any jewellery throughout. The likelihood of that happening is 2, because a lot of people forget to check jewellery and anything like that, and the outcome is 2. It can be quite dangerous. If something gets caught or something gets loose, it can cause harm, especially because we're on this cycling machines, and it's a spinning session that I did with Charles, so that can cause damage, and the risk rating is obviously 4. So actions necessary: ensure Charles isn't wearing jewellery, and he takes it off participating. Secondly is wet floor. That can be caused by sweat or just a loose drink or anything like that. People at risk, anyone that's in the fitness suite can be caused damage from a wet floor. The floor will be cleaned. If there is any leaks or any sweat that has dripped onto the floor, likelihood is 1, simply because it's always kept tidy, always has been, and it's always cleaned every day, and anyone who spills does own up to it and checks. So overall, that's okay. Again, likelihood, no, it's not that much. Outcome 3, it can be very, very dangerous. So that's why the likelihood is little, because it's kept that way to ensure that it doesn't happen often. So just ensure MOT daily. Loose back on bike monitor, so batteries may drop. Obviously, again, so the batteries drop on the floor. Whoever's on said bike, again, because the batteries can drop onto the bike and then get caught in the chains. One of the monitors is wobbly, and as a result, the batteries sometimes fall out and drop to the floor. Ensure the participant is wary of this, and if occurs, move to another machine. Likelihood is 2, but the outcome isn't actually that much, so the risk factor is 2. Sorry. And action is necessary. We have to purchase a new monitor simply because it cannot be fixed. Foot grip is loose. Whoever is on the said bike, again, foot grip on the pedal. Ensure participant is aware of the pedal grip is a bit loose, and as a result, It's quite dangerous to do high intensity exercise on the loose floor grip, so the likelihood is 2, the outcome is 3, so risk rating is 6. Replace existing foot grip on the bike to ensure safe exercise can be done. That is the parkour I gave my participant before he took place. Obviously, if you want to pause the video and have a quick look at that, you're more than welcome. So these are the tests we conducted before we took part in any tests or any activities, just to make sure that the participant is fit enough to take part. Obviously we have the averages here below, so if you want to pause the video again, but obviously Charles is again quite fit, and he's fit enough, and he's above average in everything in this test, so it does show he is physically fit and he is able to conduct all of the exercises and activities that I will be giving him. So, information on participant, fitness and skill level. Charles is generally a fit player. He plays sport and competes in physical activity regularly. Charles will be capable of participating in the spinning session. Charles has no medical problems or conditions. He isn't on any medication and hasn't had any surgery before. This is an advantage as Charles can participate in all exercises and activities without any physical problems. And particular needs not applicable. He doesn't have any particular needs or anything that we need to be concerned about. So, the facility and resources, the location is the fitness suite, as I said before. Facility needs, I need enough space for 2 cycling machines facing each other in the fitness suite. Obviously I'll be getting off the bike at certain times and really motivating Charles face to face just to push him forward. However, I will need the bike facing Charles at some point during the session. I'll only need 2 cycling machines, as said before, but I will need a stopwatch, as most of my spinning session is down to intervals and times in the session. And I'll also need a speaker, or I said did need a speaker, for the music for motivation. Health and safety conditions. I must ensure firstly Charles isn't wearing any jewellery. That's the big one for me. Simply because loads of accidents happen when people don't really check for jewellery or anything that they're wearing or inappropriate clothing, and that's the really, really big one for me. Obviously all the rest are in the risk assessment, but that's the key one that I'll really specify. Emergency procedures. If there are any injuries, I'll be looking after Charles in the session whilst the observer gets another member of staff to act upon the situation. So I'll be staying with Charles while somebody else gets immediate attention. If the fire alarm goes off, I already briefed Charles on what to do. And issues arising from risk assessment, just that loose monitor for the bike, again, it didn't get repaired and it didn't get replaced, so that had to be avoided during the session. So, the content. The warm-up. Firstly, I'm going to introduce myself and make a brief conversation. I'll have completed a full risk assessment before the client starts the session, and I will double check all equipment is working, and I'll behave professionally at all times. So for the actual warm-up itself, dynamic stretches for 2 minutes. These include lunges, sweeps, quad pulls, supermans, etc. I'll organise the machine so there is enough space for us to complete all the stretches, and then a 2-minute pulse raiser on the bike with no resistance at 12 RPE. So, the main content. Charles is doing a spinning session, so my idea is use RPE and almost use that in intervals. So every 2 minutes, Charles increases by 1 RPE, all the way up to 18. And again, he goes back down again. The RPE scale repeats the process, so pretty much you go every 2 minutes, it will go up 1, and then it starts to go back down again, which brings his heart rate gradually down as he finishes the session. So I think this is a really good advantage doing this, because it prepares him for the cooldown, and obviously it's perfect timing because it goes straight into the cooldown. Alternatives. Obviously it was said before in obviously contingency plans. I've put it here because it is part of the main content. So alternatives, if Charles can't compete in the spinning session, then the alternative for his weights, to increase lower body muscular endurance, I'll use the technique low weights, high repetitions. He'll do the exercises such as leg press, calf presses, lunges with weights, squats and weights with medicine balls, and medicine ball relays as well with weights, and even wall sits. All of those are good ways to increase muscular endurance by using low weights and high reps. So for my cooldown, First thing that, while doing this, I'll be talking to the client to make sure he's mentally calmed down, so he's not too pumped or energetic before he leaves the session. Both dynamic and static instructions to break down lactic acid. A light jog will be included in order to break down lactic acid again and ensure the heart rate doesn't dramatically drop. However, we have kind of prepared Charles for it already. Obviously, you can bring down the RPE slowly. Ending the session, I'll be packing away all equipment, leave nothing behind, ensure everything is tidy and ready for the next person. So the session review, specific session aims, it was improved muscular endurance in the lower body, hamstrings, quadriceps, calves and soleus. I believe I have improved Charles' muscular endurance as he struggled to begin with a couple of weeks beforehand. However, this session in the third week of the program, I believe he's progressed. He's felt more at ease through the session itself. And as the intensity progressed, I still believe that he struggled a little bit. However, from the first 2 weeks, it's a big jump he's done. So I think he has progressed, and I think this session has helped. Peer review evaluation form. This was the observational, so somebody was observating every part I did in the session. Obviously, this is a review. Pause the video if you want to look at it. Client review form, so Charles filled in the client review form that I created myself. Obviously, again, pause the video if you want to look at that. So strengths and areas for development that I led for the session. So I believe one of the strengths was, I believe I motivated Charles throughout the session. This benefits Charles because he feels he isn't alone and he hasn't a constant support. He's surrounded by somebody who's giving him motivational support. So he doesn't feel alone, pretty much, while doing all these intense exercises. That works well, because again, it means that Charles feels more comfortable with me, and he believes in me a little bit more, and as again, going through the program, that will help and benefit both of us. Secondly, my timing worked really well. The intervals, again, they worked brilliantly. It all went smoothly. The warm-up went exactly to plan, and again we brought down the heart rate at the end of the session, which then went to the cool-down, so all in all the timing was pretty decent. Areas of improvement, maybe I could have explained and justified while doing or just before. I don't think I explained it that much to Charles, in terms of justifying why we're doing it. So I did explain the session to him, but I didn't say why, so just talk about, again, muscular endurance and the fact that we're pushing him to really high levels of fatigue, and then beyond that doing a really high intense exercise. I could have checked the machines before using them in my session. We did have trouble with one of the cycling machines. It began to break down. Obviously I moved him to another machine, which wasn't a massive problem, but I could have checked just beforehand so that wouldn't have happened, so it wouldn't have slowed the session down a little bit. But all in all, very good. So the program aims was to improve muscular endurance, improve cardiovascular fitness. I think I've partially completed these goals as throughout the program. My client lasted longer due to an increase in muscular endurance. However, there was little progression through the cardiovascular goal as my client improved very little. So yeah, it's partially complete. The muscular endurance definitely improved. However, cardiovascular didn't. Maybe I set the goal too high, or I'll have to review the program. But yeah, partially. So my strengths, I designed my program well in terms of keeping them specific with the client and target goals, always smart targets, always included them, and made sure that the goals that I did set were smart. I added a good variety in my program. There was no resultant tedium, which means there's, again, a nice variety of exercises and sessions. Everything kept changing each week, it wasn't really repetitive. I had alternatives for almost every session, so if my client Charles came up to me and said, "Oh, my leg's hurting, I can't do this," I always had an alternative in every session. Areas for improvement, I could have included more skill related. I know once a week I did do something with him that was very light, but I could have included more exercises that included football skills, which were relative to his sport. Again, he plays football, which would have helped him for his football games and his practices. I could have done less in the gym, more workouts and more outdoor, just to improve the tedium, so the tedium doesn't set in, and again, just so it changes the program itself.